What's up everyone, quick video here just covering some initial impressions, installation tips, and driving impressions of my carbon fiber edition Coolerworx shifter for the 350Z. Specifically my 350Z, the 2003. I do have a CD009 transmission in this car that I swapped in a few years ago. So I'm going to cover some specifics in regards to some things I encountered in my overall impression. So to start, I love the piece. It's machined extremely well. I was very impressed when it showed up at my door. It was boxed and protected well. It is the carbon fiber edition, so you have the nice added detail of the carbon here versus the aluminum that you would have in the other editions. Machining and tolerances were great. I didn't encounter anything surprising there. So when it came to the install, there's a few tips I wanted to pass along that I picked up from some friends, and also had a big help from Soho Motorsports on a tip that I wasn't aware of, because when you order this shifter, or at least when mine showed up, there's no real install instructions, but everything is mostly straightforward. So first off, this piece here is two pieces. So you're going to have your base plate, and then you'll have your what I'll call the shifting assembly, which includes your reverse lockout assembly, which I'll show you here, and then of course the shifter that goes down and connects to your shift linkage below. So when you're installing this and you're starting, you're going to want to install these two pieces as one before you put it in the car. So underneath this block, there's going to be 4 bolts that you're going to want to install, and to connect them together, and use red Loctite, mainly because you have no access to these bolts once they're installed. So definitely use red Loctite to make sure that that stays in place. Next, you're going to remove the factory assembly, which is pretty straightforward. You're going to reuse the 4 bolts. You probably can't see too well here. Well, here's one back in the corner. So there's one on each corner. There's no nuts on the bottom side that you have to worry about. It's all welded into the body, so you don't have to get under there and have a buddy hold a wrench or anything strange like that. So those will just come right out. You'll remove some of the rubber booting, and you'll find 3 more bolts on the top of the factory assembly that you'll take off. So when you go to install everything, one of the things I encountered was I realized the shifting linkage, basically the bolt holes didn't line back up. It was short by about maybe 1/2 inch, and I couldn't quite understand why. So before I panicked and thought I had a machined product that was incorrect, I called Soho Motorsports and asked a question, and they gave me a great tip, and it really saved me some time. So what you're going to have to remove is this shifting assembly right here for the factory shifter. So that's going to be on the back side of the transmission that you're going to see when you get underneath the car. So when you look down and your OEM shifter's removed, you're going to see this right here. And this is the 3 bolts I was telling you about where the OEM shifter's bolted up. Now, with the design of this shifter, there's no purpose for this anymore. This does not bolt into it. It's literally just sitting down there. So the tip that I got from Soho was to remove this. And these 2 side bolts are easily accessible from the transmission. These top bolts are not. They're on top of the transmission right up next to the body. So you have to loosen. What we did was we loosened my transmission cross member, used a jack, and lowered it about to its max capacity without disconnecting anything else. And it got me about 4 to 5 inches that I need. Used the open-end box-end wrench. And these are relatively small bolts. They're a little long, but they break loose pretty easy. Nothing too complicated. And then you can slide those bolts right out of the top. And then we kind of played a Tetris game and rotated this around the drive shaft, and it came right out. Everything else bolted right up. After that, shifting linkage went in, came up to the top, and it went together extremely well. The next thing we wanted to look at was the reverse lockout assembly, which I'll get close here, and hopefully this thing will focus for us best that we can. I'll back up a little bit. So what you have here is this screw lockout with a nut on the back side. Let's see if we can see that a little bit. The way this works is you're shifting through your gears, and you get over towards 5th and 6th, and you want some safety. This is just a safety to keep you from going too far towards reverse. So when you pull up on this piece here, you'll see the shaft move out of the way. Now I have the clearance to go all the way over and then down into reverse. So that's all that is. What we did, this bolt here is actually much longer from the factory, from these guys. So we decided, I took off exactly 6 millimeters of length off of this, just to make it look a little bit tighter and cleaner once it's installed. Everything else was really straightforward. The big item here of note is, yes, you do have to notch your factory waterfall to clear the reverse lockout. So what I decided to do, I saw some photos, and there's a silver ring here that used to be here that holds the factory shift boot, and I think it looked cleaner to just take it out and notch this piece versus notching both. So that's what I did. What I did as well, when I took this out and I removed these 3 climate controls, I actually stenciled this radius of the circle onto a piece of cardboard and cut it out, and used that as my template for this. So it looks pretty uniform. It's not gross and just hacked up. Sanded it down, made it look nice and smooth. So to wrap up and finish, driving impressions, I've had it in here for about 24 hours, and I'm impressed. It's definitely a shorter throw. It's very, very precise. First gear, second gear, and then it's on through the rest. I don't need to show you, but it's very precise, very short, and just really gives you a unique feel. I don't really have any negatives to put forth right now for anyone. The only thing I can really think of is you're going to get a little more noise from your transmission tunnel here. Not necessarily a bad thing. You're just going to hear more of the road. I have test pipes, so I can hear a little bit more of that well-known rasp coming through the car. But there's a sound system in this car. It's already loud anyway. Full suspension, whole 9 yards. Transmission mount, motor mounts are all poly, so it makes some noise anyway. But overall, that's it. Hopefully these tips help you guys out. Definitely drop a comment or send me a message if you have questions. And I definitely recommend getting you one if you are looking for a good shifter solution for your 350Z. Thanks.